When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Yes, hello there. Good morning, everybody. Yes, it's your host from Join Up Dots. Yes, you're listening to the right show. Why would you listen to any other show? We've got a guest on today who I've had a little bit of a chat with him, as I always do before recording, and I know that he is going to deliver some motivational content which will have you scribbling for your notepad all the way through. He's a man who, from the age of 17, has focused his attention on not only developing the skills to obtain income on automatic pilot, but also to teach others how to do the same. He's a mover and shaker with hustle muscle throughout his body. From growing up in Kingston, Canada, he's now found himself living in San Diego, California, via a little bit in Japan, with a dream to build a better life for not just himself, but those of his clients and readers of his Amazon best-selling business books, which soared to the top of the bestseller list quickly after release. He provides tutorship and knowledge on how to turn business leads into nuggets of gold, and has seen many of his ideas transform businesses across America. But that's just a part of what he's about, as with an interest in martial arts, a love of travel, and an open-minded entrepreneurial spirit, he really seems like someone who is just getting going on the road to what he will ultimately achieve. And that's what makes his show fascinating, as we not only connect the dots of a person's life, but also take a look at where the dots are heading to. So let's bring onto the show to start, of course, joining up the dots, the one and only Mr. Daryl Urbanski. How are you, Daryl?
Hey, David. Thank you. That was awesome. I really appreciate your kind words. That was beautiful.
You can only write what's out there, sir. So if you were somebody that was just sitting on a sofa every day moaning and groaning, I wouldn't have a lot to write about. But you seem to be somebody that's doing stuff on a daily basis.
Yeah, you could say that. Tend to get a lot done. At least that's what other people say. It's always subjective, though, right?
No, is it though? Is it subjective? Because people say that to me and they go, oh, how do you do a 7-day-a-week show? How do you do this? How do you do that? And I just say, I decide on what I'm going to do and I do it. And I think that's the difference. If you sort of wake up in the morning and you kind of go, right, what should I do? Oh, I'll have a cup of coffee. Oh, I'll have a slice of toast. You know, you lose part of your day, but you just have to get up, do it. And once it's done, then you've got your free time, but you've got what you need to do done first of all.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I just mean it's always in the eyes of the beholder, whether you get a lot done or not. I have some days where I feel like I've gotten nothing done, but exactly like you said, other people come by and they'd be like, "Wow, you got all that done today?" And anyways, no, I don't want to go off on a tangent just yet, but it's just interesting that's how it is. I mean, they find a lot of the world's most successful people, it stems from some sort of pain or some sort of motivator deep in their history that drives them. And so it's almost never enough. Some of the friends that I have that are really successful, whether it's in athletics or business, they just have this sense of it's never enough or it's not enough. So anyway, that's why I was like, I guess it's subjective, because I guess hearing what you said, you're right. I'm definitely not a lazy person, but some days I just always wish I could get more done. But then to somebody else, they might think that I'm just like accomplishing these gargantuan feats. So anyways, that's my 2-second rant.
That's what we do on this show. We go off on tangents and we have rants, and that's a bit that shows the passion in us. But I do think, there's days that I am uber productive and I will look at it and go, yes, that's what I need to do. And then there's other days that at the end of it I kind of go, did I really do anything worthwhile? And I do think you kind of need those days, because it kind of assesses what you're doing. I think if I was doing stuff 24/7 every single day, I would get lost in the midst of it. And I think it's those days when I kind of go, no, actually, I didn't really do much. Tomorrow I will do this. Actually, ultimately makes me more productive, because I've fine-tuned and I've put in a very small plan about what needs to be achieved, other than trying to do everything all the time.
Yeah, no, that's well said.
That was a very short response to that passionate statement.
Well, no, I think you're right. I think it was well said, and it's all subjective. I've had days where I felt like I got nothing done, and then when I look at my list, because I usually start my day off with a list of what I want to get done that day, I'll find, wow, I actually got a lot done. So how I feel about it isn't always tied to the real results, but you do need that. You need that ebb and flow. I mean, that's a philosophical thing, but if you didn't have, it's almost like it's the Chinese say you can't keep wealth past 3 generations, because the first one will come from nothing and work their butts off to earn it. The second generation sees how hard their parents worked and they work to preserve it. And the third generation just grows up expecting it and they squander it. And so it's almost like, you see, you need those days of unproductivity so you feel bad. That way you know what a productive day looks like. And you kind of have to have that. And that's where it's really important, the people you surround yourself with, because if you surround yourself with people where they're setting the benchmark really low for you, you've got nothing to motivate you, to inspire you, to push you to become more or try harder.
Now, what we always pose is the question for the listeners out there, the ones that are in jobs with low achievers, the kind of guys that are sitting around in their cubicles, on their desks, just getting through a day, and they're not driven to create anything amazing. They're just in that kind of zombie land. And the one in the middle who wants this dream, who wants this passion, how do they surround themselves with the movers and shakers or the people that have raised the bar when they're in that situation?
Well, to be honest, this is the easiest and best time you could do this ever, because technology makes that so simple. So something that a mentor told me, and has really been true for me, and I would really prescribe for anyone that wants to make a difference or change their circumstances or just accomplish any goal, is that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so you might not be able to change the fact that you're sitting in a cubicle next to someone, but are you talking to them all day, every day? Or are you focused on your work? And if you are talking to someone, is it via text and social media? And there's someone who will motivate you, who is focused on the same things that you're focused on. Perfect example is, unfortunately, a good friend and mentor, Mike Marshall. He was an SEO expert. He passed away, I believe, on the 8th of this month. And he's someone I've known for years now, 3-4 years. I've met him twice in person, but I talk to him every couple of months. I don't think it ever went more than 4 or 5 months without me hearing from him. And I've known the guy for 4 or 5 years now. My best friend now he's my best friend. I've seen him tons of times, but he was someone I sought out. He was a speaker on a stage and someone that I really was connected to and was motivated by. And I just became his friend over Facebook. And we met at different conferences. I think we met 3 times until now. I live just outside San Diego and he's up in Irvine, and I go visit him once or twice a month. But before then, before I moved down here, we'd been friends for 2 years, talking every day over Facebook, because we just clicked and we got along, but we'd only seen each other in person 2-3 times at different conferences. So for someone that feels that they can't change the people around them, well, you can definitely change the people you're giving your attention to and who you're focusing on and what you're focusing on.
Yeah, I sit in a recording studio and I have these amazing positive conversations and we really get into deep stuff. And I feel after an hour that I'm best mates with these people. And if they then said to me, did you fancy a quick pint? I would go, yeah, no problem at all, and go straight down there. Have I ever met them? No, I've never met them once. Can I email them? Can I Facebook them? Can I contact them? And will they get back to me? Yeah, absolutely. But I'll tell you a fascinating story, Daryl. I was speaking to a lady the other day talking about technology, and her absolute personal assistant, the top one, the one that she's been working with for 10 years, who she will give everything to and really supports her to the 10th degree, she's never even seen on Skype. She's never had one conversation with this person. Now that's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, that's crazy, and that's only possible in an information world, like we live in now.
So when you were in Kingston in Canada, that's Ontario, wasn't it? Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, it's just between Toronto and Montreal, essentially.
Now, how far away is your life now from there? During Join Up Dots, we do try to connect the dots, leading you to this point. You are now in the hub of entrepreneurial online world. Literally, probably every 4th conversation I have is somebody close to or living in San Diego. Now, you obviously haven't just surrounded yourself with 5, you've surrounded yourself with a whole city. And it is kind of movers and shakers out there. So was Kingston far away from that kind of a vibe that you're getting now?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was. It was a much, much, much smaller city. And so it was even more important that I stay connected to those people. And when I would go to a conference, I'd make friends with people and I would make a real effort to stay in touch with those people and surround myself with them. In fact, I still have friends and family in Kingston, of course. But I mean, the last couple of years, 2, 3 years that I was there, I would see my friends maybe on a weekend or something, or someone's birthday or any sort of big event, but I wasn't hanging out with my friends as much because first of all, everything was focused towards achieving my goals and my education and everything that, I'm very, very goal oriented, but even more so, I felt really focused to have my conversations be with like-minded people. And doing that, I was doing everything I could, paid or volunteer. I was getting involved in every project I could. I looked at the person I wanted to become as if it was an exercise. Like to become that person, I would have to do 100 push-ups to build my arms that big to be able to be that person, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to get those 100 push-ups done and out of the way. And so I was trying to get involved in every project I could because I had my project that I had going on, and of course I was focused on it. But sometimes, like, I'm fatigued, I just want to change, or I wanted a distraction. Well, let's talk to my friend and let's talk about their project and what they're doing, and I'll just listen and give some advice, or like just things like that. Like it was just really powerful just to immerse myself in who I wanted to be and become. And so in some ways it was good, and in other ways it was bad, because when I first, and I don't know. I feel like I'm a humble person, and this might not be a very humble statement, but when I first came here from Kingston, I was very much expecting to be a small fish in a big pond. I've been a big fish in a small pond up in Canada, but now I'm in the States, I'm in San Diego, I'm in the center of the universe. And I came here and I just really felt that no. And to me, it was kind of surprising because I felt like, in a certain way, to use the martial arts analogy, I'd been this kid up in backwards Canada, just in the woods fighting invisible ninjas, just practicing my skills and getting really good at the fundamentals. And then I come down here to San Diego, which is like the center of the universe for this sort of stuff. And I'm meeting all the grand masters and all their top pupils. And I'm wondering why they don't have some really basic things down pat, or why they have questions about XYZ, or why some of the stuff that they're doing is so simplistic, and not necessarily in the good way, but just it's really like in basic. And for me, that was an odd experience because I felt that you've got everything. You are in the center of the universe. You're in the grand temple with all the masters. Why am I some backwards kid from the middle of nowhere, just like running circles around you with what I'm doing and accomplishing? And so for me, that was a bit of something I really did have to ponder. And that's why I said at the beginning, it's been really powerful for me, that's really the only thing I can attribute it to, is the quality of the people I had surrounded myself with, even though I was living remotely up in Canada. And just how I spent my time. And it really does all make sense. I've got a lot of friends that have, been training for the world championships, or they want to go to the Olympics, or have very, very ambitious business professionals. And especially with the sports, like you only have 24 hours in a day, and it becomes really, really clear in sports that if you want to be a gold medalist, if you want to win a gold medal in judo or whatever, cross country skiing, you have to be better than everyone else. And to get better, it takes practice. There's just no way around it. I mean, scientists have proved that whole 10,000 hours deal, right? That you need 10,000 hours before you can do anything on a world-class level. And just, and you have to use your 24-hour day more efficiently than anyone else to perform that sport. You have to spend your time eating the right food. You have to spend as much time as possible getting the right amount of sleep for you, the right amount of practice, the right amount of time mentally focusing on it. Your life is optimized for that. And so some people that realize that, they get a real fear of success, in the sense of it's a blessing and a curse, because you really have to love what you're doing. You will never do anything more than you'll never you'll never do anything longer than you do work. You never spend more time doing anything other than work. So if you don't love what you do, it's a trap. If you do what you love, life is a blessing, and it's really good. And you can pick almost any topic. And if you become world class at it, people will pay to see you do that work. And so that's really, where it comes down to, is just using your time management. It's the best kept secret of the world's most successful people. And it's just having lots of goals, tiny goals, minute goals, daily goals, hourly goals. That's why I said, like, I plan my day out at the beginning of every day, and it's in half-hour blocks.
Right.
I don't always stick.
Let's slow you down. You're going like a steam train there, and I've got questions bursting out of my head all over the place. So, if I took you back to the beginning of that statement, that you wanted to be the man that you wanted to be. You had a vision of what you wanted to be. What kind of
Correct.
age was it that you had that? Because, how old are you now?
I'm 31 as of April.
Okay, you're 31 years old, and you've been doing this for how many years?
Well, so I've been really involved in my industry for, we'll say 3 years, 4 years. I've been really trying to make a good go at business for about 6 years. But internet marketing, the first time I did it, I was 17 years old. I didn't even know what I was doing. I lived on the west coast of Canada. I'd done this program where I got to travel and work around Canada for 9 months. And I wanted to go back to the west coast. And I was 17 years old and I only had $1,000 in my account. And I went on the internet and I found a classified ad and I called this lady up and rented a room in her house back on the West Coast. And I needed to find work. And I was going to finish high school and I was going to work and live out there. I just wanted to be out there. It was beautiful. So I didn't know what I was going to do. So I went to the local city, which was Penticton, British Columbia. And I went to their Chamber of Commerce website and I scraped all the email addresses of all the businesses. And scraping just means you copy and paste them into a document. And then I basically just spammed them. I had a 3 email campaign. I didn't know what I was doing. I was a 17-year-old kid. I had 3 emails. The first one was like my cover letter and resume. The second one was like an email and a PowerPoint presentation. The third one was like a follow-up email. And I just spammed them to try and get interviews lined up for when I moved out there. And it worked. And I got work that way. And then later on, fast forward, I'm 23, 24. I'm in Tokyo. I'm teaching English, been teaching English for 2 months. I hate it. I want to do something that's probably, if anyone's listening to this, it feels like they're in a 9 to 5 job that they just can't stand. That's where I was at. I was making good money, but I felt that I was capable of so much more. And I was looking for a different type of job. And this company was hiring consultants to work at Microsoft. And I was like, wow, if I could get in as a consultant at Microsoft, what a gold ticket that would be. So I went to this job interview, and it was the most unique job interview I'd ever done. There was like 30 of us, 40 of us. They only had 2 positions to fill. They had us playing group games. And this wasn't Microsoft that was holding the interview. It was a consulting agency that was working with them. And they asked us to do these group games and activities. And like one, we were like sitting at all this team building stuff. And then there's other weird things. Like we'd sit down at a desk. We all had a desk with a big brown envelope on it. And we had to open the envelope. And then they told us, this is our email inbox at the beginning of the day. And they want us to prioritize all the emails. There's all these printouts of emails. And they just wanted to just observe us in action with a chaos.
And did you thrive on that? When you was in that group scenario, did you think, yes, I'm going to win this game?
No, I totally knew. I knew at the group there was like 5 people I just didn't feel I could compete with, and they were just awesome. And I didn't even really know what the goal was. Like that's the other part, is there was so much confusion where I didn't even really know what the goal was. So I left that interview thinking I didn't get the job. And what I did is I went home and I went to Hallmark.com. And this was back when e-cards were all the rage. And e-card is like a electronic card that you would send someone, for those that don't know. It'd just be like a little it'd be a little animation, whatever, and then your note. Well, on Hallmark, you could send them for free, and you would just pick a card, and then you pick the date to send it, and then you write your message. So I wrote like 8 months worth of emails of e-cards to the hiring manager, whose name was Melissa, and I had them sent out to her like every week or every other week. And because I knew the date that they were going out, I'd be like, hey, I hope you got great plans for this Valentine's Day, and I know the weather's been up and down, but because that time of year, that's what the weather was. And so I set this. It took me like an hour to do, maybe hour and a half, because if you think about it, that's 6 times 2, that's 12, right? Like 12 cards. So I sat down and did that. And then 4 months later, maybe 5 months later, I get a phone call one day, and it was Melissa, and I had no idea who it was. She was talking to me like an old friend. Daryl, what's going on? How you doing? I love your cards. I'm like, great. Yeah. Like I'm not even kidding. Like that night, it was off my radar. Like I went home from the interview, did that, and then forgot all about it. And then months later, I get this phone call. She invites me in. And then when I go there, I realize where I'm at. I go to the office building, and she sits me down and, hey, we got a new contract. It's with Shinsei Bank. We're going to be helping them with their real estate contracts and with different intercultural activities. And this is the curriculum, and it's $60 an hour, and these are your hours. And are you interested? And there was no interview. There was no screening process. It was just, here's the job. Here's the pay. Will you do it? And so that was kind of my second clue that marketing was really important for success in business. And then I really came into it, like I said, about 3, 4 years ago, probably about maybe 5 years ago now, if I think about it, where I really decided, okay, I really need to get on top of this marketing stuff because I just I had a business that I couldn't get off the ground because I couldn't get the word out to anyone. And in that way, shape, or form, that what I was doing, I needed a truck to try to drive around and kind of demo people what I was doing. It was a type of vending machine, and I couldn't get that out. And I realized not being able to get my message out was really crippling that business. And then I thought about the other little business projects I had, and I was like, was not getting the message out what really hurt. And then I just started to put all the pieces together, and I just gone to a conference where the guru had said, good marketing can sell a non-existent product, but bad marketing can't sell free gold. And I felt like that'd been me sometimes. I had these beautiful ideas or projects or products that I couldn't move, and it was because there was no one knew about them.
So if we went right back in time, have you always been a hustler? Even when you was a tiny little kid, were you somebody that would mow lawns and offer to wash people's cars and walk dogs? Because it seems like you've got almost nervous energy, which is great because you get so much done. But were you always that kind of kid?
But yeah, that's a good question. And I mean, when I was young, I had a positive image implanted in my head of what it means to be an entrepreneur and a business person. But I wouldn't say that I was like some people, they really are that like from when they were 2 years old, they're out selling Avon. Like as soon as they could walk, they were like, they're out there on their hustle. And that wasn't quite me. I had a newspaper route and I shoveled driveways and I tried to organize teams to help, get more driveways done. And I babysat. But really, it was just me just not being able to. I don't know a better way to say it, but I didn't like being under someone else's thumb.
Mm.
And I felt that I'd been mistreated by a lot of different companies when I was working for them. And I just, in my head, I had this image of what a positive, like what it meant to be a business person, what it meant to be an entrepreneur. My uncle, he'd had a couple of businesses and did property management and had some rental properties. And I remember being at his house in Toronto and people were coming over and I felt like he was like the godfather. They were like coming over with like gifts and like thanking him so much for what the good he'd done. And that was the image I got in my head that as a business, your goal is to solve problems for people and to make their world better. And in return, they pay your cost to do it plus a percentage, that's just built in.
But did you not have that kind of? It would just be nice to tell a boss to go shoot himself. Did
Oh yeah.
so? I know it's all about providing value, and for everyone who's been on the show, it is about becoming successful by providing value to the world, and then ultimately you will reap your rewards. But there is that core thing, isn't there, when you suddenly realise, I can't be an employee. I've had enough rubbish bosses that tell me to do things that I don't really believe in. I don't really respect them, so I'm going to go out on my own. But you seem to have got that vibe early on.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I got it early on. I think when I was maybe 14 or 13, maybe even 15. But in that range, there was a telemarketing office I got a job at, and I felt like it was really like churn and burn, like get them in and get them on the phones, and the people who make sales stick, and if you can't make sales, they're out. And that just to me, I've just started to see things in a different light. So I just want to say, like, I've been very, very successful as an entrepreneur, not maybe as successful as others. Of course, there's always people, but I'm very, very content with what I've accomplished. With the track record I've got, and even my failures, they were beautiful.
Well, that's a key point as well, isn't it? If you consider your failures to be beautiful, then that is a pure entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, it's much easier. Going through it was a different story. But I mean, my thing is, I don't want anyone listening to this to feel like that can't be them. That's my real point. I was inclined to be more of an entrepreneur, but I don't know if I was one. Like, I know people that they're just natural born entrepreneurs, and I don't want anyone this call that doesn't feel that they're a natural born entrepreneur to feel that they aren't capable of living a successful life as an entrepreneur. Because in some ways, that can be a blessing. Entrepreneurs are known for like, and I'm very good at this. I'm great at building and starting up things, and even like I will build a machine. I will what do you call that when you test it for failure? You
Bench test it.
battery. yeah. Not, anyways, I'm having a brain fart, but it's fine. But I'll just test the living snot out of it to make sure it works under all these different functions. I'll run like like a couple of months worth of raw ore through the machine. And then once I know it's up and running soon, I need someone to hand it off to because I
System
can't be the
test.
main. Yeah, exactly. I can't maintain it though, like for over the years. That just would bore me to death. And so that's kind of catch 22 because that's something that I learned from another mentor saying entrepreneurs are always looking to build the next big thing, but I just like making money and running the train back and forth across the track I've built. And so that's where it depends on anyone who's listening to this, I want to make sure that they know, just like you said before, that they have the power, that they can literally do anything they want to do. And whatever, Denzel Washington just gave a speech at UCI for graduation. It's on YouTube and it was awesome. And he was saying that passion in your heart that you feel for whatever it is you want to do, that's God's proof to you that it already exists. You just have to go out and claim it. And I'm not sure what your religious beliefs are not, and that's fine, and we don't have to have a religious discussion, but whatever you feel in your heart's desire is what you want to do. That's what you were meant to do in this world. And that's the proof that that's what you were meant to do in this world. And it's only going to be a feeling unless you step up and take action on making it a reality. And that also ties back in what we said earlier about if you get good enough at doing anything, people will pay you for it. I mean, painting. Who's the guy that does those dots paintings? They're like ridiculous. They're like millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And it's just a bunch of different, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. I can't think of his name either. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's fine. The guy puts dots on white paper and gets millions of dollars, and that's something, and you can say what you want, but he's gotten so good at something. He's gone down that one road so far. In marketing, we call it inch wide, mile deep. Most people want to be generalists and they want to market their business as the place for everyone to go to, but nobody wants an everyone solution. If you go to the drugstore and you have a headache and there's this big blue jug of medicine cures all, and next to it is a bottle of Advil for headaches, you get the thing that's really specific for the problem you're trying to solve. Even if the big jug of gallon cures everything and is half price, because you're not really sure what it does or doesn't do and what the end result will be. So it's really about inch wide, mile deep. People who have a PhD, they're not the world's smartest people. They're the world's smartest people on a really specific topic. And so it's the same thing. If you know what your heart's passion is, you just need to go out and do it and get those 10,000 hours doing it and enjoy the journey. I mean, just enjoy your life and enjoy doing it. And we have one of my mentors used to say, your head's full of bullshit and concrete, and it's my job to break up the concrete and help shovel the bullshit out. And that's so true. It's so true. I was hiring someone just the other day for some work, and I had a friend over, and she's been trying to find work and find jobs and that. And I was just, it's just not hard to get by if you just follow your passions and what you want to do.
Well, let's play some words that really cement what you're saying there. This isn't Denzel Washington, but I like the thought of that, so I'm going to look that up, and I might bring old Denzel onto the show himself. But this is somebody else from Hollywood, and this is Jim Carrey. This is what he says.
My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant, and when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job, and our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
Now, if we take Denzel Washington as an example on this, what he is saying is, yes, I'm Denzel Washington, Oscar winner, hugely successful, but I wasn't always Denzel Washington that you know now. I was the kid who was lucky to get the 5th part on a school play. But because I wanted it so much and I was prepared to practice and hustle, then ultimately, if I knock on enough doors, one door will open. And then it's up to me to make the most of what I do when I step through that door. And what you're doing, and what so many of the people who are doing and listening to this show are doing, they are starting to realize that it's their opportunity when they are scared to overcome those moments of fear and move forward. And you've been doing that all way through your life, haven't you, really?
Yeah. I mean, you're right. And I love that, Jim. I actually just found that quote like a month ago, and I love that. I love that. You can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well go after what you love. I have, but it's that it comes down to that everything I'm not made me everything I am. I'm adopted and an orphan, and I think that if I grew up in a home environment in a community where I felt like I belonged and like I was a part of it, and and that was my tribe, I wouldn't have felt the need to explore the world because that's kind of where I feel the basis of a lot of my travel, and the travel is what caused me to find a lot of different types of work, and finding lots of different types of work led me to discover what I did and didn't like, and feel that companies weren't really taking care of me, and then to really seek out on becoming a business owner and entrepreneur, following this image that I had planted in my head of what it means to be a successful business owner and entrepreneur.
So,
And
so
I've
did
got
you
some
did you
really-
have a famous person, an entrepreneur that you looked at the, like a Donald Trump or a Richard Branson? Well, when you was younger, what was your image? If you sort of
just my uncle. That's what I said. Just my uncle, and he wasn't. He'd done okay. He'd actually worked a full-time job for CBC as a part of the TV crew, and he retired. After 35 years or something to work. A nice union job. But afterwards, he started getting into property management, and he started setting up these little jobs and like handyman services and other things. And for me, I didn't really even understand all of what it was that he was doing. All I just saw was people were coming over and were so grateful to him that they were coming over and bringing gifts and stuff. And I was like, wow, that's so nice to get. Because I think I just worked like a really long week and come home and like I'm just, I was still really young at the time. And so just getting used to what it means to work, a 9 to 5 job. And then, come back and it's such a thankless job a lot of time. It's you go to work and you come home and no one really says thank you. And right. Like you don't really celebrate your victories. But meanwhile, then I go to visit my uncle for some family thing, and there's people like 5 people stopping by to bring him stuff and wish him well, and it wasn't even like a holiday, and I was just like, wow. I was like, I need to do what he's doing because he is so much like he is appreciated by other people so much more.
So is it that appreciation more than the kind of the trappings that we equate with success? Was it that human element of people saying thank you? Did that make you feel good on behalf of your uncle?
It did. And I saw the difference. I almost had my own like rich dad, poor dad experience in my life. If anyone knows Robert Kiyosaki's story, where I just, I grew up in a home, and I'm very grateful for the parents that I grew up with and have, and I love them very, very much. They've been very good to me. But I could also see that, working for a company and working your 9 to 5 kind of blue collar job, and I could just see the pros and cons of that. And then on the flip side, I'd seen people who were being successful in business, or my friends whose parents had businesses, and I felt that they had a much better lifestyle, and they just seem to have more freedom, and they just seem to have a lot less of some of the drama that I was having with work and other stuff, and just seem to be better taken care of.
So one of the films that I know that you like is Pay It Forward. And that is a kind of a value scheme, isn't it? That's where somebody does something nice for somebody, and then it spreads outwards and outwards and outwards and becomes like a global movement. And that's kind of what you're doing now, and that's what all the people are doing that are successful. They find that thing inside them that they love doing, then they manage to channel that into a business that can make them money, and then they blast it out to the world to share their gifts. And you are in a kind of pay it forward situation.
Yeah, I think you're right. I really am. I just feel that there's only one life to live that I know of. I just really believe in the philosophy of leaving things better than how you found them, leaving people better than how you found them. And so you're right. What you described there, even down to my favorite movie. How you found that out, I don't even know. But you're right.
I
love that movie.
I stalk.
Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah.
You were a PI in a previous life. But I love that movie because the whole point is exactly like it's just a beautiful movie that makes you, one, appreciate life, and two, appreciate how we can make everyone's lives better. And you hit the nail on the head. I figured out a skill set that I could channel in the business. I've been having success in that business and success with my clients. And so now I'm just really in a place where it's about helping other people. I'm very, very grateful every day that I wake up. I almost wish if I could pause any time in my life. I just really have loved. Like I love where I am right now, and I'm for philosophy. I very much am more of a Taoist, where I just believe in the yin and the yang. And so when times are really, really good, you have to be aware that that could change soon, and try to protect against that while you can. And when things are really bad, instead of just sitting there wallowing in it and feeling bad for yourself, you need to be focused on the signs and the work that needs to be done to make things good again. So when I'm living in one state, I'm always thinking about the other. So when my life is really good, I'm always worried about and trying to, build a moat around this good life I have to keep it that way for as long as possible. And if things are really tough, I'm always living where things should be good and imagining what it will be like when things get good and working my ass off to make that happen.
I'm not religious at all, but when you said, being a Dao, I read the Chronicles of a Dao Master, this huge, great book that was given to me. And it was about this kid who got taken to a temple and he grew up hating it, but then realized when he was an adult that he needed to go back and find himself. And there was a lot of sort of scriptures and stuff that was interwoven with this story, so I kind of found it fascinating. But the thing that I liked about it, and what you said quite right, is the yin and the yang. It is if I'm working really, really hard, and I suppose it takes us back to what we were saying at the very beginning, but if you are really productive for a day, then take a day off, give yourself a bit of a breather and sort of assess the situation, because you're going to be more productive. Because as I'm in this job now, I realise that one of the things that I failed to understand for years and years and years, and the world hasn't clued up to it as much as I have, but there's people ahead of me that have clued up to it years and years and years ago, is life shouldn't be hard. And I always thought that work had to be hard. I had to go there and just fight my way to the end of the day, when I can just plonk myself on a train and have a half-hour kip before I got home because I was spent. Now I'm doing this, I'm realizing that what we need to do and what we need to get out to the audience is the fact that if you find something you're naturally good at, and you have huge enthusiasm and passion, and it provides value, a lot of the things that you struggle against when you are getting going, when you're finding your feet, when you're in these jobs that you don't like, actually disappear. And you suddenly realize that your life is happier and more contented, and you actually want to work longer because you're loving it, but it's kind of easy and things get done. And I imagine you are finding that big time at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And right now, that's what I'm doing, is trying to hire a team to find people. And that's one of our tenets, is we use our superpowers daily, because that's what I want. I want a team of people that feel that they're using their superpower every day. I got that from a client. That's what she calls it. And it's just focus on what your superpower is, and then just do that, and don't be afraid to tell people, look, I can do X, Y, Z, but you're going to have to take care of A, B, C. And that was a lesson I learned first working with clients. She's actually a good friend now, but also was one of my clients, had said, you really need to be clear with people you work for or work with. And even don't be afraid to say, look, I can do A and C, but you got to get someone else to take care of B, D, E, and F, because I don't do those. And it's half of it is, it's not being too good to do that work. It's just, I want to really give you amazing results. And so these are the things that I can take care of, and I can make sure that they'll be performed to this standard, but I'm not good at those. And so if you try to make me do something I'm not good at, I can get it done, but it'll take twice as long. I'll make twice as many mistakes, and it'll be twice as expensive, as opposed to if you get someone who's just good at it to do it. And that's something that a lot of people are afraid of. We want to be good at everything. And right now, maybe there is concern for over specialization later on in your career, but in the beginning, in the middle of your career, and most of your business life, you can't become too much of a specialist as long as you fit into a larger whole.
So what's your super talent? What's your superpower? If you could just name one thing.
Sure. So essentially I call myself a direct response database marketer. So that's basically marketing automation. So my superpower is understanding how to set up marketing campaigns in a business from front to back. So I basically come in, I fix people's businesses, because they might be selling one or two things, but the way they're selling them, there's no strategy behind it. There's no logical flow. One of the most important numbers in a business is lifetime customer value. And what that means is that is the total amount earned per customer on the whole that they're with your business. Almost all businesses will have a completely new customer base in 6 years. There's always churn. Most businesses don't keep people much longer than that. There are, if you've got a dance hall or something, you might have, students that you've had since they were kids, and now they're adults, and that's phenomenal. That's great. But on the vast whole, they are rare, right? The vast majority of people churn. So you need to be able to figure out what's your lifetime customer value. And a lot of businesses don't have any strategy or any methodological. Why am I having a hard time pronunciating today? Can you help me?
Methodological.
methodological way of structuring it all together. And that's what I come in and do is I understand my marketing style is direct response. I'm really, really into results-based marketing. So when I put a marketing piece out, I'll do 7 or 8, and 7 of them will fail. But one of them, we've tracked everything, and we know, hey, for every 1,000 people who saw this, it cost us $10, and we made $40 gross. We have a net profit of 30, and that one is the one that we will scale and take into the big campaigns that go national, international. But a lot of people, they don't track the results of their marketing. 2, they're more focused about getting their name out there, a brand, which I have a beef with brand advertising. So the first part is just getting interest and getting a customer, and that's the direct response part. But the second part is the database marketing, and the database marketing is that all of us right now could go into our phones and find a list of people we could invite to go see a movie, right? If we want to go see a movie later this afternoon, but we could categorize them and people more likely to come to a movie and people we shouldn't contact at all about that. And that's the second half of it, where I'm really good at segmenting people into categories that make sense, that are profitable, and that allow for a more human experience with automation. A lot of people, when they think of marketing automation, they think of robotics and spamming people, and that's not it at all. In fact, it really is about delivering the right message to the right person at the right moment.
And has that always been your super talent, or is it only now that you can go, yes, that's it? If I'd asked you that question 3 years ago, would you have given the same answer?
I wouldn't have known. I knew what I liked to do, and I knew what I was doing. I mean, 3 years ago, I was doing it for myself, isolated up in Canada. What I haven't realized, and what's really been powerful for me, David, is that after coming here to San Diego to work with a client, I just realized that I developed a specialized skill set that's very rare and there's huge demand for. And so that's why I say, if you asked me 3 years ago, I wouldn't have known. I kind of knew, but I was still trying to figure it out. And I was still in the mindset of running a business and trying to do everything myself.
It's like frosted glass, isn't it? You peer through frosted glass and you can kind of see something through it, but you can't work it out. But then suddenly when it clears, it's almost like, why couldn't I have seen that 3 years ago? Why has it taken so long? And when you speak to people, they kind of go, yeah, I always knew you should be doing this. And you kind of think, why the hell didn't you tell me?
Yeah, exactly.
and they don't, do they? People say to me all the time now, you should have been doing this years ago. And I kind of think, I wish I was. But nobody told me, and I didn't know that I could do it. And I certainly didn't know that you could build a business out of this and all the sort of practicalities. But once you do find it and you see your reflection, you suddenly go, yeah, that's it. And that is, I suppose that takes us to what they say about find your passion. And when you find it, you will know, all that kind of business. Because you just don't know until you know. And once you know, you think, oh, duh, should have known that before.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. So, and again, it comes back to just playing to your strengths and doing what you love, because you'll be happier and you'll do better quality work. And what you said is so true. I mean, people ask, if I want to hang out with my friends, when are you done work? I'm like, I don't really ever finish work. I'm in a place where it's all like, I just have fun every day. I mean, this is fun. I'm getting to get on a call with you and talk, and this is all related to what I have to do. Does that mean, it just all connects? I mean, when I went to Chicago, I was just in Chicago, but I was there at a conference for my own education. It was something I loved. It was work related, but I self-selected to go because I wanted to go and learn what that person had to learn, because I was interested in learning it, and it really helps because suddenly if your play and your work become the same thing, no one will be able to touch you at what you're trying to do. And it can be anything. You can be painting dots on white paper and selling it for $1 million each.
Or dots on white paper. That would be good, wouldn't it?
That would be good. That would be good.
I should get him on the show. Join up dots on white paper and sell it for $1 million. Brilliant. That's what I should do.
That's right. So, but again, it just... Yeah. And the other part is your life is just a journey, and that's the other part. I'm 31 now. I'm not over the hill by any means, but I really do appreciate the adventures I've been on and the things I've accomplished, and I'm excited about what's going to happen tomorrow. And you just got to keep that in mind. I mean, in the reality, we're all going to die anyways, and in 50,000 years, none of our lives well, maybe they'll matter, but you know what I mean? Like in 50 million years, 50,000 years, we're going to be long gone. So, geez, I'm only here for a short time. Might as well get everything done that I want to get done and just have fun with it.
Absolutely. And just, I do think that is the message of this whole episode, really. For anyone out there listening, you are good at stuff. And those are the things that you play at and you love doing it. And all you've got to do is find a way of making money out of that. Because when it does blur, and the real successful people, I heard Paul McCartney the other day, and they were saying to him, Paul, you're 72 years old, isn't it time to retire? And he kind of went, look, I know that my powers are not what they used to be. I know that probably I've written all my best songs. I hope that's not true, he says. I wish I've got a couple real belters in me left. But, hey, I've written some good ones. He said, but if I did retire, I'd probably do this anyway. So why don't I just do this and get paid for it? And I kind of thought to myself, yeah, that's absolutely true. If you can find the thing that you naturally do, and even when you've got time off, you want to do, then where does work and where does play and where does recreation, where does that blend? I love doing this. I absolutely love doing this, and I hope it comes across on the shows. And the preparation is a killer. Just the fact that I can say that you're interested in Brazilian jiu-jitsu and, and you like the Shawshank Redemption and all these kind of things that I've stalked you over days. That takes the time. That takes the time to build up. And if I could hand that over to somebody to sort of hand to me, 20 minutes before we go, just so I can read it, brilliant. But on the other side of it, it's that extra effort that I'm putting into it that makes the actual process, the actual recording so enjoyable, because it's not somebody cold coming to me. Daryl is somebody that I almost feel that I know because I've done so much research on you. And instantly, when we press record, or even before we press record, we say hello. And it's instantly banter, isn't it? It just kind of flows quite like we've known each other for years. So it is. Yeah. What's play, what's work? If you can merge the two together, you're cooking on gas.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very, very well put. And as far as finding a way to make money at it, I mean, people pay money to solve problems. I'm hungry, I'm bored, like my foot hurts. How do I make this thing work? Like those are all problems and so that's something I've learned as a marketer is the center of every market is a problem, not a demographic. Your market is not 23-year-old working professional women wearing sneakers in New York. Like those are demographic traits that help you find your market, but your market is the people who have a problem. And that's something that newspaper companies didn't realize. And that's why they all got demolished, is they didn't realize the problem they were solving. They thought they were in the business of delivering, chunks of paper to people, right? And having a distribution network, but that wasn't the problem that they were solving. And so they got stuck in doing things one way as opposed to staying focused on that problem. So if anyone here, if you've got a passion and you want to do something, like I have a friend I was just talking to, she loves photography and she would just love to do that for work. So we started listing off all the different reasons why someone would pay someone to have photography done for them. Why? Because we want to figure out which one sounds like she would like to do the most, get her to go out and do some of those, and just as a test, and if she really does like them, she's going to build a business around that. And so she's not going to be a photographer that does everything. She's not going to be the photographer that does weddings and, does your baptism and like whatever. She's going to be a photographer that's very, very, very specific in what she does, because when you get more specific, that's where it's easier to find your customers. That's where people feel more comfortable with you, and you can charge a higher fee because people will pay more for the peace of mind knowing this person solves problems just like mine day in, day out. I know they're going to do a great job because they eat, breathe, sleep, and live this stuff. They do just exactly what I need. And so that's where I say inch wide, mile deep. And that's a self-limiting thought though, isn't it? Your photographer lady, is it a lady? Yes, it's a lady. Okay, she's a lady, and she goes, yeah, but, I just like doing it. Who's going to pay for this? Because it's just something that I can do naturally. Then you come along and you kind of go, yeah, but look at this. I couldn't take a photo like that. And when you are naturally good at something, you kind of almost think that everyone can just do it. And it's a mindset shift. And once somebody says it, it's like the big musicians. If you look at, like, say, Elton John, for example, literally every song that he's written, if it takes more than half hour, he gives up on it. So he sits down and he writes a song, bang, Candle in the Wind, half hour. And we would go,
hang on, how can you do it that quick? Oh, it's just something I've always done. How much money does he earn? Well, because it's his natural thing. But we convince ourselves that the natural thing is not valuable, but it's only not valuable to us because we can naturally do it. But it's valuable to so many other people. You've just got to find those people.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, because it's so easy for you. Yeah. Well, David, you're very articulate. That's exactly it. Because I was even myself. I didn't realize I had a specialized skill set until I came to San Diego. Because I was like, but I had to do that. Like I had to do that to make my business successful in Canada. I had to do that to help my friends with their businesses. I don't get what's so special about it. Like, you know, and that's where I realized I have specialized knowledge people really want. And that's really beautiful. And I think there's a lot of people that would wake up to that. And I didn't value it. And I'm still trying to figure out the real value of that because it's so easy. And that's that bullshit and concrete that work is supposed to be hard, right? It's supposed to, you have to earn, right? If you don't have to like grit your teeth and grind through it and right to quote unquote earn, you don't deserve it. Well, wait a minute, that's total nonsense, right? So
I think it's hard at the beginning though. I think to get noticed, there's that old phrase Steve Martin says, you've got to be so good until they can't ignore you anymore. And so I think when you're a nobody and you're setting something up and you've got these dreams and aspirations, you've got to hustle and you've got to put the effort in. And you might have to do your 9-to-5 job, but work till 2 o'clock in the morning each night. But then once it starts going, and in that time you've fine-tuned yourself and you've developed and you've become better, then that's when it starts to get easy. Even what I'm doing now, I'm already starting to see things get easier. And to begin with, it was a killer. I was doing like 19-hour days, going to bed, waking up the next morning because nobody knew me. And why would they come on a show if nobody knew me? So I had to sort of go out there and really try to convince people. But it's getting easier. So I do think what we're saying is right. I do think that you have to play. You've got to find your unique talent. You've got to enjoy yourself and all those kind of things. But I do think at the beginning, play doesn't get you anywhere. You've got to put the work in.
Yeah, you definitely have to put the work in. But that's it. It's what's the quote? It's like work until you no longer need to introduce yourself.
Yes.
But that comes back down to it all being a journey and why you should just wake up and do what you want to do anyways. Because it's so much work to be successful at anything. Why would you force yourself to do something that you don't love? You know, and that's, I mean, there's lots of different angles people take on it, but I definitely think that you're so far better off. Like even if you were just living above the poverty line, if you're doing something that you loved. I mean, I've had a couple of instances in my life where I've been doing work and been making what I thought was good money, and you know, and so I would keep doing it, but it really came to a point like when I was looking for other work and I said I hated English teaching earlier, you know, I was making like $40 an hour, $50 an hour in some instances teaching English, and the work was so simple, stupid, but I didn't have a challenge. I didn't feel like it, you know, like at some point the money just wasn't enough for me to do that job. And so it's just a bad way to go. I mean, you can be the loneliest person with money can't buy you happiness. That's for sure. You know, and money can help pay for things. Like, don't get me wrong, money is actually really, really, really important because it's a tool. But there's an article, Maclean's magazine, it's a Canadian magazine. They did a study and they found that money does make you happier up to about $100,000 a year. And the reason being is that once you pass that cap, you can afford the car that you want, you take the vacations you want, all that. And then all of a sudden it stops being important. And then, you know, and then it changes. Now, of course, that's a lot of money, right? Like $100,000 a year is a lot of money. But the thing is that for me in martial arts, we had a philosophy, and I helped coach someone, Thomas Godin, who went from complete newbie to bring home 2 gold medals in less than 8 months from the local provincial championship. Not local, but from the provincial championship, which is like the state championship. And part of that was that we focused on fundamentals that would work regardless of what skill level group he was in. You can learn a lot of fancy things that'll work against new people that won't work against the experts. So why even waste your time on that? Why only work on things that really, really, really work? And so if money is subjective, you know, and it's really important if you're making less than 20,000. It's kind of important if you're making 60 to 80,000. It's not really important at all once you're making over 100,000. Then why not focus on the stuff that's going to matter regardless? Who you spend your time with, what you spend your time doing, what condition your health is in, you know, like your relationships with other people, like that sort of stuff is huge, 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 so much more above and beyond.
I was speaking to a musician this morning, and he is very successful. I'd never heard of any of his music, I'll be honest. He's too trendy for me. But he was saying that basically his epiphany was when he decided, if I don't think I'm going to like it, I'm not going to do it. And it was as simple as that. And he said, and once I realised that, I loved it more. I put more effort into it, and I enjoyed my life. And he basically gets all these opportunities come out, and he kind of goes, no, I don't really fancy it. Don't really fancy. Oh, that one, I quite fancy doing that. And so he does it. And that's how he actually sort of structures his life. But I'm going to play the words now of the theme of the show, which is Steve Jobs, because we've been talking about your journey, and we've been talking about not really knowing the answers when you go into stuff, but trying things, the successes, the failures, the tribulations. And I'd be interested to know your view on these words, because these words have been spoken by many people since he first said them. And I'm now going to find out what Daryl thinks. This is Steve Jobs.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
Has your life followed those rules, those statements that he was making?
Yeah, that's his speech that he gave at graduation. It's a great talk. It really has. In hindsight, everything really seems to connect and line up really easily. But going forward, like even a year from now, like I've got a 1 year and a 3 to 5 year goal for my business, but you just don't know. It's just so true. It just really is. You don't know how the pieces come together. You just have to live your life and just not let people put you in a box.
Did you need to have a mindset to accept that? You know, one of the things that devil's advocate is it easier to say, yes, those words are right when you've actually followed a path and you've seen some kind of success at the end? And if you're in a crappy job, going in 9 to 5 all the time, sitting on the sofa, eating potato chips, getting fatter and fatter, is it difficult to look at those words and go, yes, he's right?
Yeah, exactly. It very much is, because one person's living an authentic life and the other person isn't. The person who's lived the authentic life, true to themselves and their life purpose and to what their heart and soul is screaming at them for, they're definitely going to feel it's more in line, because they've had the ups and downs, they've come through it all, and they look back and they're like, you know what, man, what a ride it was, but I'm so glad I did it, and I see how the dots connect. Whereas the other person, they're just doing what they're told. They're following shoulds and imposed social obligations, that are cultural. For sure. They're called social constructs. You go somewhere else, the lifestyle is totally different if you go into another country, and it's just very inauthentic, and it's like their body knows, and so they're probably seeing signs of illness and sickness that is attributed to some of their own neglect, probably the neglect and responsibility of what their parents have taught them, or what the school education systems taught them, or what their friends have taught them, and that's, having the wrong philosophy can be really, really dangerous, because it'll keep you tied down to doing things that are going to hurt you in the long run. If I had the philosophy that that fast food's the best food, because whatever companies can't afford to sell food that's going to kill their customers, right? And I just live off fast food. I don't know what McDonald's is like now, but back in the day, that was very, very, very wrong. The food was very bad for you, very unhealthy. So you can't trust. Here's the other thing. Like, we have all sorts of documented information, history books and writings, but nobody's ever lived longer than you have. Like, when you're like, I'm 31 years. So I know as much or more than any 31-year-old who's ever lived in the entire history of humanity, because I've had 31 years of time pass, and that's all anyone can have is time pass. And I would have more feedback based on things I have and haven't done and things I've read and ideas I have. but no one, you know what I mean? Like there's no 31-year-old with 60 years of life and life experience. It just doesn't exist. So when you're 31 years old, like that's it. So you have to trust yourself because you are the only expert in the world. You know, everything else is, I mean, sure, we have science and we have, right, we have math, we have all these things that we can trust, of course, and we're building on this knowledge. The people who built the road before I came down this path made it so that way now I can drive down this path and go much faster. You know, I'm really excited to see what kids turn out like because they can consume so much more information now. But still, you still have to make your own judgments. And it's just like when you're sick or something, you go to the doctor, you can put your life in the doctor's hands, but you need to keep control of your life and be your own doctor and then take these other people's opinions as advisors because nobody knows your body as well as you do. You're in it, right? And it's the same thing with your life. You can take suggestions from everyone and follow all the imposed shoulds. But I mean, if the Wright brothers had done that, we would never would have flown.
Well,
you know, Thomas Edison.
Let's send you back in time because, you know, as you say, it'd be amazing to see what the kids are going to be like in sort of 5 to 10, 15, 20 years with that opportunity of, you know, the web just in front of them and the power and the development of the web. It just blows your mind to see even how my life has changed. I remember working in offices that we had no email and you kind of think, what did you do? How did you talk to people? And you obviously got up and walked across and you spoke to people and probably you were more productive, you know. But that's even how we've changed. So I'm going to send you back in time now. And this is the part of the show when we're going to send you back to speak to your kid version, the young Daryl. And if you could go back in time and have a one-on-one with your younger self, what advice would you give and what age would you choose? So I'm going to play the music and when it fades out, you're up. This is the Sermon on the Mic.
Here we go with the best bit of the show, the Sermon on the Mic, the Sermon on the Mic.
Hey, all right. So I guess this is a message. If I could go back in time and talk to myself, I'd probably go back, get myself when I was a teenager, either just 13 or 17 or somewhere in that range, just because I think it's a really critical time. You're trying to figure out who you are in the world and where you fit in. And if I go back in time, if I could tell myself anything, I mean, I probably would just tell myself to just to be true to myself, to follow my passion and my heart, you know, to forget what other people say or try to impose upon me, that just to know that what I know is best. I would probably want, that's it. That's really it. I mean, just to not burn any bridges. I mean, really what it comes down to, you can be rich, you can be poor, you can be successful at what you do, you can be not successful at what you do. At the end of the day, all the pieces go back into the same box. And so just make sure that you're happy, that you're healthy, make sure that you're taking care of the people around you, and that you're not wasting the time. I mean, that's the real thing. I mean, life is such a gift. I think right now, 31, the last year, I've had a lot of family and friends pass. And if anything, that's the one part that's really jumped out is just, you know, I just really would wish that I'd spend more time with people, to the people that I love, my friends and family, because that's really, really important, and to do things that you're passionate about. Life is way too short to go 10 years off the track working for some company that doesn't give a crap. As soon as you leave, that they'll replace you. So I would tell myself that. I think I would tell myself that whatever I wanted to be good at, that success is all about my daily habits. It's all about who you surround yourself with, what you focus your mind on, and what you say to yourself, your internal dialogue. I know that was probably something that held me back, that I didn't believe in myself, or that my internal self-talk was holding me down more than anything else around me. It was, you know, until I saw other people do it and believed that I could do it, I just I wouldn't let myself believe I could do it. So I think that's it. If I could go back and tell myself, just be true to yourself, be happy, be patient, take good care of the people around you, always leave places better than how you found them. And if you really want to be successful at something, to really take control of your 24-hour day, to surround yourself with people who will motivate and inspire you, to keep your mind focused on what it is you want, to have that goal, and every day remind yourself of that goal, and just to not and to reprogram your internal dialogue. Tell yourself you can do it. Talk to yourself like you've already done it, and seek out people who see more in you than you see in yourself.
Daryl, last question before we say goodbye to you. Do you think everybody out there could have a kick-ass life?
Oh yeah, they deserve it. They owe it to themselves.
How can our audience connect with you, Mr. Urbanski?
The best way would probably be, look me up on Facebook. You can go to my site, bestbusinesscoach.ca. Either of those two would be the best way.
Well, all those links will be on the show notes. Daryl, thank you so much for spending time with us today, joining up those dots. And please come back again when you have more dots to join up, because I do believe that by joining up those dots and connecting our pasts is the best way to build our futures. Daryl Urbanski, thank you so much.
Thank you, David.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice That Every Successful Entrepreneur Practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.